Knowing the difference between CMS websites, custom coded websites, and even a headless CMS website can actually save you money as a small business owner. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the differences between each one and how different businesses might be able to benefit from one or the other. So let's get into it. First of all, CMS stands for Content Management System. Usually it's much easier, faster, and a lot cheaper to go with the CMS option. And it's usually my recommendation for 90% of small businesses. The reason being is that if you have a local small business and you're just trying to put up your business online, like your information, or you just want a place for people to contact you or check out your business or just generate some leads, then you can usually do that with the CMS site. A lot of them are really modern and they could give you a cool, clean looking website. And you don't have to pay a developer that's going to build the infrastructure, build the backend. You don't have to recreate all that stuff. Just right off the bat, you want to say that the CMS option is usually the one I recommend to most small businesses. And there's a ton of different ones that you could go with. WordPress is one of the most popular ones. Those guys, I read a stat somewhere, I think that they have like 40% of the websites out there. Like 40% of the websites are hosted on WordPress. So a huge amount. And then some more modern, newer ones include Wix and Squarespace. These ones are, I've kind of come to think of these as like the DIY option, like do-it-yourself option. And the reason being is that I feel like they simplified the process of going from design to development to launch. With these platforms, Wix and Squarespace, you often don't need to know anything about design or development to launch a site. WordPress does have a bigger learning curve, and oftentimes you might need to pay a developer to go in there and set things up or debug things if something breaks. Another option is Shopify. This one is my go-to recommendation for any e-commerce businesses, anybody selling product online. Then we have Adobe, which is really good for portfolio websites. Webflow is another modern one. These guys are all about no-code platform. So their whole thing is like building cool, modern, animated websites. And they actually give you a lot of freedom in terms of what you can do with the site. And you don't have to know how to code to build a site with Webflow. One drawback about Webflow is that it does require a bit of a learning curve. I think that's a general theme, right? If you're getting more freedom and flexibility, then you should expect that the system gives you a ton more options, but it does also make it a little bit more difficult to pick up if you're brand new to the platform. On the other hand, if it's really simple, super easy to set everything up, then probably that will come with some limitations or some things that you might not be able to get in other platforms. Another one is Carrot, which is really good for real estate investors. Another one is Lead Pages, and this one is really good for service businesses that want to generate some leads. So those are the main ones I wanted to talk about. There's lots more out there, and there's new ones popping up all the time. But these are some of the most popular ones out there and some of the ones that we've actually used with our clients. We're actually in the middle of migrating our own website, oneofview.com. And we're going to go from a traditional CMS to a headless CMS. And I'm going to make a separate video discussing that in more detail. But if you're interested in learning more about that, subscribe to the channel. So let's move on to option number 2 of building a website, and this is going with a fully custom coded website. This option does require a lot more time, energy, and expertise in terms of design and development. So with this, you usually have to pay a team, an agency, freelancers to build you a site like this. If you're going with freelancers, oftentimes you'll need to hire several different ones for each role because designers are not the same as developers, and even within the development space there's developers that specialize in different languages, and so you just have to do more planning, more budgeting around this if you're going to go with a fully custom website. This is usually not something that I recommend for small business owners, but it's a great option for startups that have a big budget or just an enterprise company that needs a custom solution. The good thing about going with something like this is that you don't have any limitations as to what you can do with the website, right? You have full control of the front end, you have full control of the back end, and you decide what happens between the servers and between the websites and what people see and what they do. So the third way you can build a website is actually going with a headless CMS option. With this option, you have a front end and a back end, which are not necessarily connected. They're actually separate, and you can choose whatever you want for the front end. This is a good option for businesses that want to have flexibility and be able to scale without having to worry about setting up the back end, the security, and the database and all that stuff. One example is having Shopify as the back end. So you let Shopify handle all the e-commerce functionalities, but then you connect it to whatever front end you want, for example, React. Now, this headless CMS option is not something that I recommend to most business owners, just because it does require a lot more startup costs. Like you got to pay for the design, the development, everything has to be done from scratch. And we do like to work on these type of projects, but we find that a lot of small business owners, especially if they have a tight budget, then they don't really need all that, and they just want like a CMS, a traditional CMS website. And so we can build that site as well. So just to summarize, I think CMS option is the go-to option for 90% of small business owners, especially if you got a tight budget. And then a custom or a headless CMS option can be really good if you do have a bigger budget and you want more flexibility and just have more control over your website. When it comes to hiring help for this, there's actually multiple ways that you can go about it. You could bring somebody in-house, you could find a freelancer or multiple freelancers, or you can hire an agency. I'm actually going to make a separate video on this topic, so if you're interested in learning about that, don't forget to subscribe. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments down below. If it was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.